Well, I think that in general across the world, people who live in cities cherish public space that they can use actively and safely with their children, with that are places that are safe for and attractive for people from age 8 to 80. And this means that public spaces are not just parks, but also use of streets and sidewalks in ways that are safe and attractive, that are not so affected by traffic noise and pollution, but are really serving primarily people who want to walk or bike or just spend time with their neighbors or friends in a streetscape. So I think the lessons are readily transferable from country to country, and a lot of cities are learning from each other best practices of how to do these things. Most frequently is tactical urbanism, using temporary materials, painting the street a different color, lowering the speed limit, reducing traffic, making intersections permeable so that cars and trucks can't go through, but pedestrians and cyclists can go through. These are all lessons cities are learning from each other. In cities across the developing world as well as the developed world, we see these kinds of reallocations of street space taking place and building strong political constituencies. In Mexico City, for example, we've seen hundreds of blocks converted into parklets and to new ways of using space. We've seen major plazas converted into pedestrian space. In Buenos Aires, Argentina, we had a major, like 25 lane-wide arterial road in the center of the city turned into bus lanes and bigger public spaces. We have places in India and China that are doing extremely effective work in reallocating space for people rather than vehicles. Similarly in India, where I helped found a group called the Institute for Transportation and Development Policy, which I still work with today. And we work in cities around the world helping to exchange these best practices, often trying to create a particularly good example on each continent. And then that enables people from that continent to look to a local model that they can learn from, and each of those can spread. So they're like lighthouse examples, and we can go from lighthouse to lighthouse, replicating these best practices and helping to scale good ideas. All of these good ideas need to be adapted to the local context. So bus rapid transit, you need to design it a little differently if you're doing it in a broad boulevard than if you're doing it in more narrow streets. You need to tailor it a bit for the local political culture in terms of what you can manage to get through. But the basic core concepts remain the same, that you want to get the buses out of being stuck in traffic by having reserved lanes. Ideally, the key characteristics you have, you separate the fare collection from the boarding so that people can board through multiple doors of the vehicle and not have to delay the bus as they're paying the fare as they board. You want to have at-grade boarding so that people can come on and off very quickly like they do with the subway, and even if they have problems walking, they don't have to climb up steps. You want to have a good integrated fare collection system so that, again, it's a very simple system with good branding so that you can recognize when you're on the BRT system. You want to have good feeder routes that lead into the bus rapid transit system. And you need to integrate all of this with good pedestrian and bicycle access and bike parking that's secure at the stations. So all of these things can be done in different ways, with different emphasis in different places, but the basic concepts remain the same. I've been watching with great admiration the work being done in Paris to reduce parking and to increase use of cycling and public transport. I think that's an exemplary model, and many cities in Europe, I think, are doing more ambitious work to redesign their on-street and off-street parking systems to favor sustainability. There's also, I think, work being done. We've certainly seen gradual but effective progress on road user charging initially in Singapore, but then in Norway and London, and now a few other European cities, Milan and Stockholm. And now I think within the next year or two, we will see congestion pricing in New York City. I think eventually we really have to do more effective time and place and user occupancy-based pricing of roads to manage traffic in cities with more use of low emission zones. And I think we'll see low emission zones coming from Europe to the U.S. New York City has announced that it's exploring a low emission zone. Portland, Oregon has set up a zero emission zone in the center of the city with some support from the federal government. I think these are important innovations. I think the work to create bicycle expressways in a number of European cities is another place where America can learn more from Europe in creating really high-class separated cycle lanes. In terms of what Europe could learn from the U.S., I think that the U.S. has done good work in trying to dramatically expanded our speed camera program, and going from a few hundred cameras to I think about 4,000 or 5,000 cameras across the city for speed enforcement, where people only get a citation if they drive more than 10 miles per hour over the speed limit. But that initiative, we found that more than 80% of the people who get a speed camera violation notice do not get another one afterwards. So they're very effective at changing behavior and inducing people to drive more slowly. That's something I think that some European countries are doing, but many more could benefit by developing automated enforcement, which is fair and which changes behavior to protect public health.